Hello everyone, today I'm back to continue sharing with you the story of the single mother, Dieu Hân. I hope you enjoy the video. While Han's clean produce business was thriving, more new customers each day, stable orders coming in steadily, Thanh was also officially stepping onto the career path he had been dreaming of for years. He opened his own small construction company, starting with medium and modest projects but full of potential. On the grand opening day, Han stood beside him, her hand tightly holding his, eyes filled with pride, because at last, the dream Thanh had kept in his heart for so long had finally come true. But along with that joy came a great deal of pressure. Thanh needed to expand his network, meet partners, clients, contractors. Some weeks he had several business parties to attend. He became so busy that there were days he left home early in the morning and didn't return until nearly midnight. Each time he opened the door, the faint smell of alcohol followed him in, his shirt slightly wrinkled, his voice hoarse from hours of entertaining guests. Han always greeted him with a gentle smile, but inside, she couldn't help worrying. She understood his job required these social events, understood he was doing everything he could to keep his promise of building a future for their family. But seeing him come home unsteady on his feet, drunk and exhausted, made her heart tighten each time. There were nights when she had to support him back to the room, help him change clothes and place a warm towel on his forehead. Thanh held her hand, his voice groggy but sincere. "I'm sorry for making you take care of me like this. I'll try to cut back." Han shook her head softly, brushing his hair with her fingers. "As long as you're healthy, I don't need anything else." Deep inside, she had always been the woman standing behind him, quietly sweeping away every tired trace he brought home after endless business meetings. Han told herself she had to be stronger, because this was when Thanh needed her the most, when he was working day and night to build a future for them, and for their child. Yet no matter how much she tried to hide it, every time she watched him drown in work and mandatory networking, she silently wished he wouldn't sacrifice his own well-being for success. One weekend evening, Thanh had another important business banquet. He promised he would try to come home early, but the clock struck nearly 11 p.m., and he was still not home. Han stood in the kitchen, a bowl of rice porridge already cold, her fingers interlaced anxiously. Then her phone vibrated. It was one of Tana's co-workers. "Hun, Tan is really drunk. We've brought him to your door. Can you come out?" Her heart dropped. She rushed outside to see two men helping Tan out of the car. He could barely stand, his face flushed red, eyes half closed, breath heavy with alcohol. He was pressured to drink a lot tonight. "We're really sorry." "It's okay. I'll take care of him." She bowed politely, then took his weight onto her small shoulders, the full weight of his body pressing down on her as she bit her lip, trying to keep balance. Inside the house, Thanh collapsed onto the sofa, his eyelids heavy. Sitting beside him, Han felt a painful squeeze in her chest. She took off his shoes, fetched a warm towel, and as she wiped his face, she noticed the red marks along his neck, unmistakable signs of a long night of drinking. Han whispered, her voice trembling with worry. "Again? Like this again? Your health matters so much." At that moment, Thanh reached up and held her wrist. Even drunk, his voice was incredibly sincere. "Han, don't be sad. Everything I do, it's for your future. And our child." Her hands froze for a second. A warm tear slid down her cheek, but she quickly turned away so he wouldn't see. "I don't need luxury. I just need you safe. Coming home every night." Thanh rested his head on her shoulder like a child. I know, but when they invite me I can't refuse. I'm afraid, if I don't try hard enough, you'll suffer." Han wrapped her arms around him, gently patting his back. "The only thing that hurts me is seeing you like this." In that moment, even in his drunken haze, Thanh seemed to feel her words deeper than ever. She didn't scold him, didn't complain. She only worried. And that alone made him love her even more. That night, Han stayed awake to care for him. She cleaned him up, gave him medicine to ease the alcohol, and pulled the blanket over him. The whole house stayed silent, filled only by Tana's steady breathing, and Han's eyes that refused to rest. She told herself quietly, "Tomorrow, I have to talk to him. He needs to know that his health matters to me more than any contract ever will." The early morning sunlight slipped through the narrow gap of the curtains, gently falling across the living room. Tan stirred slightly, his head pounding as if someone were striking it with a hammer. He lifted a hand to his forehead, trying to recall the previous night, but everything was blurry. The clinking of glasses, loud laughter, and then Han's small hands helping him into the house. When he finally opened his eyes fully, the first things he saw were a warm towel on the table and a glass of freshly squeezed lemon water. Tan tightened his grip on the blanket covering him. Han must have stayed up the whole night. He sat up and quietly walked toward the kitchen. Han was standing there with her back to him, her small shoulders drooping from exhaustion. She was stirring porridge slowly, occasionally taking a deep breath as if trying to steady herself. "Han!" Tan called softly. She startled and turned around. Faint dark circles lay beneath her eyes, yet she still managed a small smile. "You're awake? I made porridge, wait a little for it to cool down before eating." Her gentle voice only made the ache in Tana's chest sharper. He stepped closer and gently took her hand. "Hun, I made you worry again last night, didn't I?" She didn't answer immediately. She stayed quiet for a moment, looking down at the dishcloth she was gripping. "I know your job requires socializing, but every time you come home like that, I'm terrified. Terrified something might happen, terrified you'll collapse from exhaustion. Terrified that you'll push yourself too hard and fall sick without me knowing." Her voice trembled, but not with anger, only worry. Tan felt his nose sting. He wrapped his arms around her, resting his forehead on her shoulder. "I'm sorry, truly sorry. I didn't realize that trying so hard for work was hurting you this much." Han shook her head, her voice soft as a whisper. "I only need you healthy. I only need you safe with me and our child." For the first time after months of being consumed by work, Tan realized how far he had let pressure pull him away. In his rush to build a future, he had forgotten the person who stood behind him every day, worrying through every sleepless night. He held her hand tighter. "From today on, I'll change. I'll refuse the unnecessary drinking sessions. Meetings are fine, but how much I drink, that's my decision, not theirs. I want to be with you for a long time. I can't destroy my health like this." Han looked up at him, her eyes glistening. "You said it, don't break this promise." Tan smiled faintly and wiped the tear at her eye. "I mean it. I don't ever want to see my wife stay up all night again just to help me sober up." His sincerity softened her heart. She rested her head against his chest, feeling the warmth she always feared she might lose if Tan kept sacrificing himself for work. That morning the two of them ate porridge together, simple but strangely peaceful. Tan looked at Han, one thought echoing in his mind. The future can be built slowly, but this family he must protect carefully. In the days that followed, Tan truly made an effort to change. He cut down on alcohol, focused on his health, and returned home early each night so he could have dinner with his wife. Seeing the change, Dieu Han finally felt at ease again. But life can be cruel in ways no one can foresee. One late afternoon, while Han was organizing the ledger for her clean produce shop, her phone rang with an unfamiliar number. She picked up, her voice calm. "Hello, this is Han speaking." A panicked male voice answered. "Are you Mr. Tana's wife? He had an accident at the construction site. We're taking him to the district hospital now. Please come immediately." Han froze. What? What happened to him? The scaffolding collapsed. Something heavy hit his shoulder and head. He's lost a lot of blood. Please hurry. Her phone nearly slipped from her hand. Everything around her darkened. Han rushed out of the shop, locking the door with trembling hands. Her heart pounded painfully as she drove, tears streaming. Please don't let anything happen to him. Don't leave me and our child." When she arrived, several workers from Tana's company were pacing anxiously outside the emergency room. Seeing Han, they hurried over with guilt written all over their faces. "We're so sorry. We didn't expect the scaffolding to fail." But Han didn't hear a word. Her eyes were locked on the closed emergency room doors, her fingers gripping her shirt until they turned white. Another worker, voice shaking, added, "When we carried him out, there was so much blood. He told us not to tell you. He didn't want you to worry." At those words, tears spilled uncontrollably down Han's cheeks. She collapsed onto a chair, hands covering her face as her whole body trembled. He always thinks about me first. But what about himself? At that moment, the emergency room doors swung open. A doctor stepped out, his mask stained faintly with blood. Han shot up instantly. "Doctor, my husband, what happened to him?" The doctor spoke firmly but gently. "He suffered injuries to his shoulder and head. Fortunately, we were able to stabilize him in time, so his life isn't in danger. But he lost a lot of blood and must be monitored closely for the next 48 hours. Han's knees nearly gave out. Can I see him now?" "You may, but he's still very weak." Entering the recovery room, Han broke down the moment she saw him. Tan lay motionless, head wrapped in white bandages, one arm suspended in a sling, and 4 line in the other. His face was pale, his breathing shallow, as if life itself was slipping away. Han's hands trembled as she reached for his cold hand. Tears fell onto the blanket. "Tan, you scared me to death." After a long while, Tan slowly opened his eyes, looking at her through the haze. "Hun?" Just hearing him say her name made tears stream down her face again. "You still dare say my name? Do you even know how terrified I was?" Tan tried to smile, his voice hoarse and fragile. "I'm sorry. I'm okay, don't cry." But the more he tried to reassure her, the harder she cried, gripping his hand desperately as if afraid he would slip away again. "No job is worth your life. Don't ever put me through this again, please." Tan closed his eyes, 2 tears sliding down his temples. "I promise. I'll be more careful from now on. I still need to live to take care of you and our child." Han leaned down and embraced him tightly, letting her tears fall onto his shoulder. In that moment she realized, as long as Tan was still breathing, still opening his eyes to look at her, then no matter how hard life became, they could always start over. In the first hours after surgery, Tan drifted in and out of consciousness, while Han stayed beside him without leaving even half a step. She fed him spoonfuls of porridge, gently wiped the sweat from his forehead, and held his hand whenever he winced in pain. Even the smallest groan that escaped his lips made her heart tighten. The doctor advised her to rest, but she only shook her head. As long as she could see Tan breathing steadily, she still had the strength to stand. By the afternoon, Tan's parents rushed into the hospital. The moment his mother saw her son lying on the hospital bed, she burst into tears. "Oh heavens! Tan, my child, how did you end up like this?" His father stood silently beside her, gripping the railing of the bed so tightly his knuckles turned white as he tried to stay calm. Han quickly explained everything, trying to reassure them, but her voice trembled so much she couldn't hide her fear. Tana's mother pulled her into an embrace, crying as she said, "My girl, you must have been so scared, poor child." Han's family arrived shortly after. Her mother brought a thin blanket, and her father carried a bag of hot food. When they saw Han sitting dazed beside the bed, her mother wrapped an arm around her shoulder, stroking her gently the way she used to when Han was little. "We're here now. You don't have to carry all of this alone anymore." With just those words, tears slid silently down Han's cheeks, not from fear anymore but from relief. In the days that followed, Tan recovered slowly but steadily. Each time he opened his eyes and saw Han there, he gave her a faint smile, weak but full of warmth. Once, he tried to lift his hand just to find hers, wanting to be sure she was still by his side. Han held his hand tightly and whispered, "Don't worry. I'm right here." A few times in the middle of the night, Tan awakened to see her dozing off on the edge of the bed, her hair falling over her shoulders. He watched her for a long time, his heart swelling with gratitude and guilt. The accident had taught him something he had never fully understood before. Work can be rebuilt, money can be earned again, but a woman who cries her heart out because of you, she is irreplaceable. When he felt slightly stronger, Tan held her hand and murmured, "Hun, I don't want to chase after anything that scares you ever again. After this, I'm truly going to change." Han looked at him, her eyes glistening. "I'm not asking you to give up your dreams. I just need you to live. I just need you to come home every night. That's enough." This accident was like a harsh awakening. The moment the doctor allowed him to move to the recovery ward, Tan immediately called his assistant. "From now on, cancel any projects that aren't safe. Reject any meetings where they try to force drinking. I want the company to grow, but not at the cost of my own health. The staff were surprised, but seeing him lying there wrapped in bandages, they understood why he had changed. During his days in the hospital, Tan spoke less, but every word he said comforted Han. He asked if she had eaten, if she had slept well. He begged her to go home and rest, but she refused to leave him. His movements were slow and weak, but his eyes had grown gentler, deeper, steadier, the kind of maturity that only someone who has narrowly escaped death can have. Both families visited in turns, bringing food, fruit, and the warmth that only a big, loving family can offer. In that small hospital room, despite the lingering smell of disinfectant, the air was filled with love and care from those who truly worried about him. And one night, when the hospital had fallen silent, Tan watched Han adjusting his blanket and said softly, with steady resolve, "Han, I promise this accident will be the first and the last. I want to live long, to see you smile, to see our child grow up. Work will never be more important than you again." Han looked up, and for the first time in days she smiled. A soft smile filled with gratitude, hope, and a love strengthened by the fear of almost losing the person she cherished most. What seemed like a tragedy meant to drown them instead became the moment that brought their hearts closer than ever before. On the day the doctors allowed Tan to be discharged, Han had been up since dawn preparing everything. She rearranged the bedroom, spread new sheets, added an extra pillow to support his shoulder, and placed a small vase of flowers by the window in hopes that coming home would bring him peace. Each task was small, but she did them with her whole heart. When the car stopped in front of their gate, Tan looked up at the familiar roof of their home and felt something strange swell inside him, as if he had just returned from a long, terrifying journey and had finally found his way back. Han gently opened the car door, wrapped an arm around him, and helped him inside step by step. Tan winced from the pain, but his eyes softened as he watched his wife care for him so carefully. The moment they stepped inside, Tan stopped. Everything looked the same, yet somehow warmer, more comforting, as if the house itself were opening its arms to welcome him back. The faint scent of wood, the soft rustling of the curtains, even the quiet he had never noticed before today, it all made him want to cry. Han placed a hand on his back. "Sit down and rest first. I'll warm up some porridge for you." Tan nodded, but just as she turned away, he suddenly grabbed her hand. His grip was weak, but he held on tightly, as if afraid she might disappear if he let go. "Han!" His voice was hoarse and slow, carrying the weight of everything he had been through. "I've never felt as happy to come home as I do today." Han froze. She turned back, tears filling her eyes. "I'm just glad you came home at all. I was so scared that time." Tan lifted a trembling hand and touched her cheek. "I know. That accident made me realize so many things. Being here, seeing you again. That's the greatest luck of my life." Hearing that, Han couldn't hold back anymore. She wrapped her arms around him tightly, as if wanting to keep him beside her forever. Her shoulders trembled and Tan leaned into her, closing his eyes to take in the peace he had nearly lost. A little later, she helped him sit on the bed. Tan looked around the room, the raised pillow, the neatly folded blanket, the small vase of flowers. Everything held her presence. He smiled, soft but deep. "Our home looks beautiful. Probably because of you." Han laughed through her tears. "You and your sweet talking." "No, I mean it. Before, I thought of home as just a place to sleep. But now it feels like the place where I'm truly alive, where someone is waiting for me." That sentence melted her heart instantly. The accident that had nearly taken so much from them had instead given them something precious. A deeper understanding of each other. A love more tender and more grateful than before. Their first day back home after the accident didn't involve any big celebrations, no loud laughter. Only the two of them sitting quietly beside each other, hands held, exhaling a long, relieved breath. And in that moment they both understood. Some accidents aren't meant to test you. They're meant to remind you that happiness can be as simple as still being able to see each other every day. During the first days of his recovery at home, Han hardly left Tana's side. Every morning she woke early, prepared warm water and medicine, gently propped him up with pillows so he wouldn't strain his shoulder. When stirring the hot porridge, she blew on every spoonful before bringing it to his lips. Watching her, Tan felt quiet inside, because he had never imagined a day when he would depend on his wife so much. Every movement sent a sharp pain through his shoulder, and the head injury sometimes made him dizzy. Whenever it happened, Han immediately placed a hand on his shoulder and whispered, "Don't push yourself. Take it slow. I'm right here." Such a simple sentence, yet to Han it felt like medicine soothing every wound. Sometimes he closed his eyes just to hear her gentle breathing beside him, a familiar sound that reminded him he was still blessed. In the afternoons, Han often helped him out to the backyard for some fresh air. She laid a small mat under the tree so he could sit comfortably. The sunlight was soft, the breeze light under the eaves, and Han sat beside him, telling him stories about the shop, the regular customers asking about him, the vegetables sprouting new leaves behind the house. Those simple stories calmed his mind more than anything. One day, while she was carefully applying medicine to his shoulder, Han whispered with a tight throat, "Han, without you, I don't know what I would do." She paused and looked up. "What are you saying? We're husband and wife. We're meant to be together through the hard times." He shook his head, eyes reddening. "Not everyone would do what you've done. This accident made me realize how long I've been chasing work, forgetting that the most important person waits for me every day." Han placed a hand on his cheek, as gently as if she were afraid to hurt him. "I don't need you to be perfect or the best. I just need you healthy and by my side." Her words almost made him cry. He clasped her hand with his uninjured one, feeling the warmth he thought he understood but had never truly valued enough. Ever since the accident, Han had changed almost completely. He no longer checked emails constantly, no longer rushed to answer every phone call. He allowed himself to rest, allowed himself to slow down, and most importantly, allowed himself to lean on his wife. At night, when Han sat beside him massaging his shoulder with warm oil, Han smiled and said quietly, "Han, when I recover, I want to change the way I work. I don't want to live like before." She looked at him, her eyes filled with soft hope. "I'll always support you as long as you're happy and safe." Looking into her eyes for the first time in his life, Han felt he was living not just for ambition or dreams, but for someone who truly mattered. He wanted to build a strong career, not through sacrificing his health or his wife's peace of mind, but through the growth that came after nearly losing everything. Their recovery days passed gently like that. In every small gesture, every meal, every quiet conversation, Han showed that love isn't found in grand gestures. It's in every moment she chose to stand beside him, whether he was at his strongest or his most fragile. And Han understood clearly, this accident might have taken some of his strength, but it gave him something far more precious, the chance to realize that true happiness was right beside him, in the form of a wife who loved him with quiet patience and her whole heart.
Xin chào mọi người, lại là mình đây, rất vui được gặp lại mọi người trong video của mình nha. Video hôm nay kể về câu chuyện của người mẹ đơn thân Diệu Hân. Sau những biến cố khó khăn, Diệu Hân và Thành đến được với nhau, nhưng mà cuộc sống của Diệu Hân và Thành vẫn sẽ gặp những khó khăn trong cuộc sống. Hân và Thành luôn cố gắng nỗ lực đối mặt, vượt qua những khó khăn ấy, và sau những khó khăn thì hai người ngày càng gắn bó và hỗ trợ nhau nhiều hơn, yêu thương nhau nhiều hơn. Liệu rằng cuộc sống của Thành với Hân có được viên mãn hay không, và họ sẽ phải trải qua những gì, thì mời mọi người cùng đón xem ở những video tiếp theo. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video hôm nay và ủng hộ kênh của mình trong suốt thời gian vừa qua. Hy vọng rằng mọi người vẫn sẽ yêu thích kênh Diệu Hân và cùng lắng nghe những câu chuyện mà mình chia sẻ. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video, một phút chia sẻ của mình. Hẹn gặp lại mọi người video lần sau nha.